This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masteringencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode.
Here we go. Hey, everybody. Larry Bailey, Mortgage Workflow Partners. We are just getting started with our Tuesday event. There's going to be a bunch of people floating in, to which I say thank you very much. Sincerely, you guys could spend your half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour, depending on how long you want to stick around for the Ask Me Anything here. So if you're just joining or just finding out about this or watching this on replay, join us live every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. We go for an hour, usually. And it's an Ask Me Anything format. So if you're a user of Encompass, if you're an admin for Encompass, if you're thinking about Encompass, if you're totally PO'd at Encompass, and you want to know why the heck it's happening that way, bring your questions. Nothing's off the table. I'm from Jersey, so you really can't hurt my feelings at all, I promise. And while we're getting started here, if you are, a couple of things just to start us off, while again, we're waiting for a couple of minutes for people to show up. Hopefully you got to hear through masteringencompass.com. Please share the word. Ton of great content in there. We're going through every other Tuesday. Thanks, Sharon. I'm glad somebody's listening to me, because I'm obviously not listening to me. It was every week, and then that was too much. So it's every other Tuesday. Thank you, Sharon. But it's still at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock Eastern. So at least I got that right. So in any event, housekeeping stuff. So Mastering Encompass. I'm going to be doing my plan is to finish up the desktop reviews. There's release notes this week. The web is stable. All the stuff on there looks like it's going to stick. Quite honestly, I was hedging a little bit because there were a couple of changes that happened in the desktop release notes. So I was like, I didn't want to repeat 25.4 where I went through a bunch of release notes and then things changed at the end. That was kind of a bummer. But it just set us up for 26.1, I guess. As a reminder, that's due to drop into our production environments around the 21st of March. It's already in test. So hopefully you've been playing around with that stuff. No, Kelly, there's never a dull moment with release notes. I'm always encouraging guys, if you're ever going back, please go back often and always start at the end because the end is going to tell you what the change logs are. Work backwards. Unless you haven't read them yet, and then start with the top. So there's that. Second thing is if you're going to go to the ICE event, we still have like 5 or 6 or 7 slots open for the wrap-up event. If you're interested in doing that this year, please participate. If you're interested for next year, we're going to be doing it every year, kind of a thing. Packed event, lots of things we're starting off. The whole agenda is there in the notes, so you can check that out. And then if you happen to be at the ICE show, Tuesday at 1 p.m. local is my session. We've got about 600 people in there right now, which is phenomenal. But you can always sign up for more. We're going to be talking to Rhoda and Laura and Chris, 3 users of Encompass just like yourself, and how they actually moved the needle in a huge way using essential tools in Encompass. No extra technology, no extra fanciness, just straight up understanding workflow first and then applying the native settings. So it's going to be really good. Lube, I see your question. I'm going to get to it in 1 second. And then obviously we're going to be at booth 807. So there's going to be 8 of us there from Mortgage Workflow Partners. My wife is finally coming to an ICE event. I got her to go. It's awesome. Her name is Chris. Feel free to stop and say hi and say hi to her. So she's excited to meet everybody that I always spend I spend more time with you guys than I do with her, I feel some days. So so there's that. The very last announcement is if you see me talking incessantly about Workflow Coach, it's because I am obsessed with Workflow Coach. It's a piece of software I built, and like I built it, and it solves exactly the problems for documenting workflows. Christy Younger, if you haven't had a chance to have your workflow professionally reviewed by Christy Younger in the Mortgage Workflow Partner Workflowology team, you're missing out. She's phenomenal. We have big plans. Marcy, thank you. We have big plans for what we want to do with that department over the next 18 months. Um, she's just coming up on 18 months now, and it's been a godsend. Um, Cheryl, we will check that out. I'll be sure. And I think Anna's watching this, so Anna, make sure we get to Cheryl Fawn information on workflow reviews, or you can talk to Patty Massengale from our team too. Thank you, Luba, for that fine thing. And part of this, and I went over this with the admin. So every Tuesday, Sharon, every Tuesday at 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, and then also 12 to 1 p.m. Fridays for the admin mastering Encompass certification and coaching. We were talking today about project management. And so we've got a good quorum on here. I think I don't know how many people are on here. There's a lot of people on here. 44 people. Huge day. Thanks everybody for showing up. Show of hands. This is what we talked about in today. So I'll ask you questions and then you can ask me questions, and I'll get to Luba's first because she put it in the chat. How many people are actually documenting your requests as they come in into the changes that you're making in Encompass into workflow adoption? So that's your little triangle there. So somebody in your business says, hey, this thing's got to get fixed. They send you a request. You keep it organized in something besides an email. You document your changes, and then you spit it up into workflow change. 2 out of 3. Sarah, is your third that you're not doing is how it affects the workflow? None of that, Taiba? Yep, right. And so I recognize that. So if we have time, I'll show you how I do Workflow Coach, what it's all about. If you're going to be at the ICE show, please stop by. Tech and training seem to be siloed, Sarah. How about I say it like this? It's not that the tech and training are siloed. It's that nobody's actually watching the workflow. And so when somebody's like, hey, this thing isn't working, what you're really missing is the ability to pull that down, make the fix, and then make sure it applies to all the workflows that fix applies to. It's hard to get that visualized. It's impossible usually. And most importantly, when we all know when you tinker with one thing in your workflow, it usually affects something else. And to see that efficiently is a gap. And so I solved for that. All right. It's Q&A day. So ask me anything. So Luba says, Luba, do you want to come on mic? If you do, raise your hand if you want to talk through this. Go. Luba loves talking. Where'd you go? Did you lower your hand? What the heck happened? Hold on. Thank you. Yeah, don't lower your hand. Allow mic. There we go. You should be able to talk. You good? Oh wait. Yeah, you should be able to unmute yourself. No? Did it work? Yeah, it says you are. I don't know what's going on, but I'm saying that you should be able to talk. Anyway, Luba's question is, Luba has an input form that has a bunch of custom fields on it, and Luba needs to be able to put this input form to be available for loan officer persona to edit at any time, no matter what the milestone of the loan is. And I'm thinking I need to update every milestone rule in PAL, or is there a better? Yeah. So you've got specific custom fields that you want to be fully editable, regardless of whatever the milestone is, right? I got you. Hang on, there's new messages. Correct. All right, cool. So this is called partial edit. And so you're going to do is you're going to go into your persona access to loans business rules that are governing the current lack of editability, and you're going to make it partial. Right now you have it view only. You want to make it partial. And so unfortunately, by making it partial, you have to answer like what to do with the lock. Every milestone rule, technically, yes, because every milestone rule currently has view only. So if you want these fields to be fully editable, regardless of the milestone rule that's in effect, you do have to go in sequence from, started through completion, uh, and add those fields. And so what a lot of people get lost on is the distinction between persona access to fields and persona access to loans. Remember, fields comes first in the editability if loans are not in effect. Once loans are in effect, fields don't matter. It just clamps over top. So having said that, if the persona access to loans says view only, it doesn't matter. You have to add that persona to what it is. Sorry, Luba, more work for you because you don't have anything to do. You could give it to your favorite support team at Mortgage Workflow Partners. They could do it for you. Just saying. You can always do that. Great question. All right, other questions. There's Q&A. Wait, somebody put the Q&A. You guys keep me on my toes. I'm waiting for Teams to give me the Q&A. It says, thoughts on new pipeline view enhancements coming our way. What in particular catches your eye on the pipeline view enhancements? In particular, Taiba, I don't know if you want to come on. If you want to raise your hand, I'll pull you on. You can ask that question specifically. That's probably in the desktop release notes that I haven't read yet. So if you want to guide me through that conversation, I'd be glad to. Oh, you're looking for no, I mean, pipeline views, listen, pipeline views in desktop are the same as web, right? So it just says level set here. Pipeline views are meant to give you a single viewpoint on filtered loans. In desktop, if you get really fancy, you could try to pack in like 20 or 30 different columns in one pipeline view. And depending on how big your monitor is, that just doesn't work on web really well. So what you end up doing, of course, is manufacturing dashboards in desktop that allow you to give you segregated pipeline views of filtered loans. So in English, disclosure desk, you can do it for every department, but sales, you have dashboards for leads, credit run, no apps run, no disclosures, and then files closing this month. Disclosure team or disclosure person responsible has apps that need initial disclosures, LECOCs, ICDs got to go out, and then COCCDs. Underwriting has the same thing. Closing has the same thing. Like you can have these things all over the place. So what do you do in web? Well, you get ICE BI. I think it's called AIP is their acronym. Don't ask me what it stands for. I haven't seen it yet, but I do have a client that is implementing that as we speak. So give me about 60 days and I'll give you my feedback. Or if you're I'm sure it'll be at I'm hoping it'll be at ICE X26. Excuse me, we can check it out directly. So Libby says, I've seen it. It looks cool, but it costs $3. Well, if it just costs $3, Libby, like what's the big deal? Not cheap. Guys, let's use money. Let's use real numbers here. So like 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. How much? What's the 3,000 a month? Is that expensive? 6,000 a setup? Is that expensive? Am I out of touch? I'm telling you right now, you try to go to a visualizer platform. Okay. Listen, budgets are budgets, right? I mean, $100 could be a lot in some budgets. I respect that. But I want you to understand that if you want to get if you want to supplement Power BI, you don't need a Power BI admin, and then B, it's the add-ons that can catch up real quick, Kelly. Yeah, this is the stuff like I don't know, like I don't sit in your seat, but I can tell you this: when you are going through Encompass, the only reason why you want that is if dashboards are failing you. I want to reinforce. There's a lot of companies who think we have to leave desktop, and that's never been the case ever. It's just that you can't get everything out of the modern look, feel enhancements on desktop that you can in web. But progress is not cheap. So Luba says, Wait. Carrie says, why does ICE need ICE BI when they have Data Connect? So Data Connect is the ability to pull the data into a data warehouse, Carrie. So instead of having to have your own data warehouse, you use Data Connect. Um, that's what that is. It's not another money grab. I mean, you could feel that way, but it's just another way to pay, right? So instead of paying Domo and I don't know why Domo's name came to me, but instead of paying Microsoft or AWS for a data warehouse, you pay ICE for a data warehouse. It's just another place. Yeah, Data Connect is very different from Power BI. Power BI is a visualizer from Microsoft. Power BI allows you to take your data table and in your data table source and convert that into visualizations that your Power BI administrator creates. That's Power BI. Power BI is just a visualizer. It's like pivot tables on steroids. Data Connect is the data warehouse. Data warehouse, if you don't know what that is, it's the ability to store the data and the updates of those data fields in sequence. So, like we all have a reporting database, it's kind of like a data warehouse, except it's really limiting. Data Connect is every field, every file, all the time. That's what a data warehouse does. And so, um, hopefully that makes sense. Does that help? Hopefully that helps, Jennifer. Lynn says we need help with best practices, what to do after workflow review. We got the summary. Um, wait. We got the summary report and started watching interview videos and discover things staff doing are not what we thought. I want you guys to read what Lynn just typed because this is the reason why we do these things. Sean, I see your question. I'll come back to you. So we got caught up unexpectedly. Oh, so you got caught unexpectedly. Initially, we hoped to get advice on Encompass Web Readiness Plan, but it now seems discovering training gaps. This is the first time we had somebody review our workflow. Lynn, so and for everybody, um, anytime that you do an actual workflow review, whether you engage mortgage workflow partners or anybody else, you do it yourself, but you document the workflow steps by step. What ends up happening is a lot of times you find out stuff you weren't expecting and you're like, holy goodness, I wasn't expecting that. How do I move forward? And I'm getting a sense of Lynn from you from that. And I'm sorry, but not sorry. We got to know what we're dealing with, right? We got to understand what's going on. Now, what do we do about it? My first response to you is compartmentalize the things that are high that cost money versus the things that are just unsettling. So I'll give you an example. We did a workflow review. This is the story I love to tell. We did a workflow review for a company, and we found out their processor at home was printing the loan approvals, three-hole punching them, putting them in a three-ring binder on her desk. Every loan approval. And when we discovered that, and I let obviously the client know, and I was the one doing the reviews, they were very upset. And I said, but it's your fault. It's your fault, business, because the reason why that team member had to do that was because she already had two loans open on her two screens, and she got an urgent request from the loan officer asking for the status of the file that was closing in 3 days because the loan officer couldn't figure out what was going in the file from Encompass. That's the business's fault. And so if you saw that, right, Sarah's like, oh my gosh. If you saw that, you would be like, oh my God, this is like a huge problem. Like we got to stop them printing, to which would be the wrong step. The correct step is to understand why the why the behavior is that way. And it's because the information that the loan officer needed wasn't in a centralized place. So part of what Christy and I actually talked about today, coincidentally, is how do we help you as a client? How do we help you as a group, right? This is for everybody. How do we help you as a group understand best practice workflows? And my solution for that, I can't solve for 45 different companies in one phone call, right? That's just impractical. But the one thing I can help everybody out with, and especially Lynn, because she asked the question, is start to actually, in your case, you've got Workflow Coach, Lynn, everything's in there. So go through Workflow Coach and search for email and figure out how do we get our teams out of email and using loan notes, or search for printing. How do we get out of the behavior of printing things to the E folder just to find it later. And again, I don't know, I don't have linear report in front of me, but these things I'm bringing up are common for everybody, and it's because we still think we're working on paper. I did a LinkedIn post. Luba, to answer your question, because it's in front of my eyes, go up to the workflow at the very top. It says print the PDF. Just click the button. And you can do that at the main part of Workflow Coach or in the actual workflow itself. And it'll give you a linear print of all the steps. So when we go through this, when Christy and I talked about it, it was how do we help give best practice workflow recommendations? And the challenge, of course, everybody's here today. The challenge is understanding what it is you're really having problems with, and how do we help make sure that you understand what's possible with native functionality. And so that's where I focus on, is making sure that you understand what's available in native functionality. Number two, give you the tools that don't exist today for this problem that we all agree we have, which is to document existing workflows, and then to document the process of applying solutions natively, hopefully. If it's from a third party, it is what it is. But either way, you apply those solutions, and how does it impact your workflow? Like it's hard to do now because you don't have the tools. So I built a tool, which is called Workflow Coach. So hopefully I answered that question on that, Lynn. But truthfully, cycle back to Christy, right? Reach out to Patty, reach out to Christy, and we continue to answer questions. We're here for you. We're done with the report, but that doesn't mean we're done with the relationship. So whatever we can do to help. Sean, do you need a data connect to use Power BI, or can you connect You can actually connect Power BI to an Excel spreadsheet, which I know you have, Sean. So there's plenty of YouTube videos on how to use Power BI. So yeah, you don't need a data connect. You can actually import the sources to Power BI to run. And those sources could be Excel sheets. Yeah. So I agree, Kelly. I'm just reading Kelly's notes on that. As far as understanding what people are doing is everything, and then also showing them what's possible. It's amazing when you're surprised. You should never be surprised if somebody didn't know something that you know. Everyone is only going to know what they're exposed to. So the idea of being exposed to more information so that you know what's possible is everything. Questions? So this is AMA. Wait, did I leave somebody out? Lisa, you got a question? Hang on. I am allowing Mike go. You should be able to unmic or unmute.
Yeah. So I have a task that I was trying to set up in my test environment as a workflow task to populate what for a flood cert review, but not to show up until there was a document in my flood cert placeholder.
Okay.
But for some reason, it adds it to my task list every time. And it tells me there's a little triangle exclamation that says flood review is not yet created within the loan. Create and complete the task before completing the milestone.
Yep.
And I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
So work backwards for me on this. So what do you want to have happen in the perfect situation?
I don't want this task to show up until the flood's been pulled.
Okay, wait. What is flood pulled?
When there's a flood cert document in the placeholder.
Okay, fine. So if we know if we know that we don't want the workflow task, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know we don't want the workflow task to actually appear in the file until the file is attached to the flood cert document. True?
True.
Okay, cool. And we know that we don't have that document. That document's a service document, right? You don't have like some other. Yep. Okay, cool. Do you have the flood cert document as a document, as a needed document in your list?
Not in test, I don't.
Okay, so first thing I would have you do is add your flood cert at this. So for those that don't know this hack, So when you have service documents that you want to write rules to, especially milestone completion or stacking templates, things like that, you need to create the document as a needed document in your eFolder settings, desktop settings. Same name, same characters, uppercase, lowercase, replicate exactly what the service document is, leave it as needed. And so that's the first thing I'd always recommend is creating that document as a placeholder, as a placeholder, right? It's just as a needed document. So now that that exists, now the rest of Encompass can actually write rules properly. So now that we do that, let's go into web settings, and you created a workflow rule. What was your triggering event?
Document added.
Document added. Do you mean file attached?
Maybe, I don't.
Well, let's go into it. I'll give you a second to go into it. So we're going to put Lisa on pause while she looks that up. Kristen says, there has to be accountability. When I see teams missing new processes, I attend their meetings or give them one-on-one calls to find out why they're not doing what we expect them to. Sometimes they just can't really understand what something was created to do or how to. So Kristen's got a great ability to go in there and find things. What I would ratchet that up just one small level, make sure that the team doesn't have an SOP. Guys, if you're giving your teams like stuff to read, they're not reading it. People want pictures and they want to be able to see things clearly. So I don't care what you use. If you've got nothing, I'd encourage you to check out what we're doing with Workflow Coach in each of the workflows. And again, I'll show you that here before the end of the meeting. But make sure that you line up the steps. Don't give them the SOP, like how they breathe. Just give the main steps. And so if the team is not doing something, or if they are doing something you don't expect, or they're not doing something you do expect, it's either a break in the technology, certainly a break in the workflow. Pardon me, I'm not sure which one's out of alignment, whether it's the person or the process, but you need to get in there, just like Kristen's saying, get in there and review it and adjust accordingly. And it has to be proactive, pardon me. It has to be very proactive. So kudos to you, for Kristen, for doing that. Lisa, did I give you enough time? Did I stall for you enough?
I have a document added to the flood cert folder.
File attached. You want to share screen?
Yeah.
All right, hang on. Let me make you a presenter. So to figure out how to do that. Why can't I do that for you? Well, this is just me being me. Lisa, where are you? Lisa. Yeah, why can't I make you? Oh, there you are. Apparently you can only do it on the right side. You can't do it in the top. Thank you, teams. You should be able to share, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. Sync. Well, I click share.
Did you?
Yeah, it's
thinking about
it. It's not good. Control Shift E. Let's see if that works instead.
Control Shift E. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know.
We might have to just ad hoc this. So if you're in workflow rules and you're in the rule itself, the triggering event, it says file attached, and then you pick the document
added.
Okay.
So it should say file attached.
I'm going to bring it up on screen, and you tell me. Hang on with me, gang. We're going to do our thing here. So let's get over here, and I'm going to go into my environment. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Like I can't even share.
Well, I can see your Google screen.
Oh, good. Okay, it did share. Cool. Thank you. Let's see if I can break the internet today. So let me go ahead and log in. And one of these guys. Oh, I have to log in as admin on this one. One of these days I'll reset my password for L Bailey. So if we come over into workflow rules and we go here and we want to have a new workflow rule. I know, it's okay. So we want triggering event, we want a file attached.
So what's the difference between document added and file attached?
Ooh, good one. Good one. So document added is the e-folder document. Again, very specific language, guys. Remember, I'm going to just take it from the beginning. E-folder is like a big filing cabinet. If you don't know what a filing cabinet is, I'm sorry. E-folder is your filing cabinet. Your documents, aka placeholder, aka buckets, are the manila folders that are hanging folders inside the file. You open the drawer, you see a bunch of hanging folders. Those are the documents, file buckets, placeholders. Files are the PDFs. Files are the things that go inside of the document placeholder buckets. So if you select a document added, that's why nothing's working properly. You need to have a file attached. I don't think I have flood. This is why I asked you to create the flood here. Because if you don't
Well,
have flood
I tried
certificate,
doing that. Like
Yep.
I have one created, like in my documents in my e-folder, there's a flood cert, but it does say settlement services. And I tried creating one that said needed and making it match, but
Yep.
it won't let me because then it says matched. And it won't let
won't-
me delete the settlement services one because it's settlement service.
well, you can't delete the settlement service, but why can't you create the other one?
It says that one already exists. Like if I make it exactly the same. And I bet I say it's the type is needed.
That's an odd experience. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a second and try to recreate that problem. And let's tackle this. I know you guys have some other questions in there, which I really appreciate. Let me try to solve for this one first. Normally, it's not a problem unless something changed. So I'm going to go into a system, a flood certificate. I don't remember that document names had to be unique, but it's entirely possible that I forgot that part. Are you saying that in the business rule, certificate? Are you saying in the business rule it does not let you select flood certificate in your file attached rule?
It lets me select it there.
Okay, good. That's all I care. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it is a document name is unique and it cannot be reproduced because it already exists in the document folder. So that's fine. The hack I was talking about was if it doesn't already exist in the documents, but if it's in there
Oh,
already, ignore that step. I'm going to go back to sharing screen. So what I want you to take away from this, and please test. Okay, it looks like it's working. Is use file attached triggering event and use flood certificate for document folder, and then do your result for what you're looking for.
okay.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
deal. All right, let me know. Keep me updated. All right, so let me stop sharing here and come back over here. Let's see, attendees. Let Ann in. Hopefully, Ann, you're doing great. All right, so we got some more questions. On FHA loans, has anyone been able to have the Encompass automatically click and update the MIP when loan term changes? Kelly, that would be a DDM rule. And so one of the results you can pick in DDM is the FHA. It's a table already built in. It's a native table. So let me know, or certainly let the MWP team know why that's failing for you. That's one of the actual native rules out of the box from ICE. So just check that out. Now, having said that, everybody, at least twice a year, I always recommend once a month because I'm just that way. Please make sure your FHA and your VA download links in your tables are updated. I know it sounds weird to do it often, but it's just because I lived through a time where Congress kept changing the FHA MIP tables every month. In one case, it was like within the same week. Just make sure they're updated at the frequency that supports your needs. Question from Lynn. I have one workflow rule like this to update the condition status linked to the document when file attached. Okay. Lynn, I'm going to have you come on. Can you come on mic just so we can talk through this? I'm going to allow the mic for you. If you can just talk me through, because this one's a little complicated. I just want to speak with you about it if I can.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
We have this one specific use case is for the fraud report. So let me think. So there's the fraud report and the document is automatically linked with the condition.
Yes.
And sometimes like people will like clear that condition, but we have automation to run data verify fraud report order in like different milestone.
Yeah.
So I wanted to happen is when there's a new fraud report with attachment. So it's a file attached to the document. With the workflow rule, actually, I want to reopen the condition.
Yeah.
But then the condition status, it will not show like, for example, it was cleared when the workflow run. Then the condition, I think the status updated to requested.
Yep.
There's no option to do edit. And then our processor will say, oh, I don't see that condition because the way
It's already
how
been
they
cleared.
filter.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So first of all, kudos for doing condition automation. So that's awesome. If you guys didn't pick that detail up, Lynn's using workflow rules with enhanced conditions to actually automate and update the e-folder natively. So kudos. Now let's get down to the problem. So what I'm hearing you say is when you use the, let me share screen. I don't know if I know this problem yet. So you're saying when you go through the triggering event, like we talked about, files attached, you go through and you update the condition tracking status, and you update. I know it's not this condition, but let's just pretend it is. You update this to fulfilled.
I will update it to like we're talking about reopen the condition. That's already clear. So here status, I will change to like I think requested because that's the only one that closes or actually requested. Change it to requested.
Why wouldn't you change it to fulfilled? What is your condition type look like?
So the condition, like before the workflow will run, the condition status is cleared.
Right,
So
I understand that.
And then, that's our workflow. Actually, when our processor has a document or attachment to the condition that will satisfy the condition, they mark the condition status as fulfilled.
But fulfilled is showing in your condition type. Is fulfilled showing as is the checkbox open? Or is it cleared so it's so it's not open in the condition type?
So fulfilled currently means the condition is still open.
Good. Okay, that's normal. That's very normal. So in your case, again, and not everybody uses fulfilled, right? So if you're asking what should you do? Normally, whether you use re-requested or you use fulfilled, that's up to you, but that should reopen the condition. Is that failing?
The rule works, but just in my question with the screenshot, that's how our processor filtered the condition. And then they also have a filter of like filter the owner of processor. So all those are the ones that the processor think are still outstanding. They need to work on, but because of the way they filter condition, they never see the condition that's actually like
because they've been doing added in their view. So so I mean, here's the deal. So just to reframe this for everybody. So what we have right here is we have a condition filter problem. So I know this is what's on the first of all, timeout. So what's on screen is a standard condition, not an enhanced condition, but the problem is still the same. If your teams are creating a filter, so in other words, if your team went into status and did this, and then hit save, and they did, added, and they set this as their default, they're never going to see any other condition in this view other than added. And you can't say added and received or added and requested it. There's just no way to create a custom filter like that, like you would on a pipeline view. So what I would suggest, Lynn, this is a workflow problem with regards to everybody setting up a condition view. I would make sure that they also, if they're looking for added, they need to either remove that and so not work off of added, or they need to make sure they're looking at either requested or re-requested. If those are the statuses that you're having them work on. The challenge is that in here, if you put it back, there's no added here, right? We
Yeah.
can't move it back to added because that's like moving a file back to started. It's not one of those things you do. So if this is problematic, you know, which I don't think long term it's a problem. I think you just need to have everybody understand that the latest status of a condition shouldn't be added. I would really recommend they work off the disposition, which is open. And you can see it in Lynn's screenshot. I would probably tell them remove the latest status of added from their view and just stick with disposition of open. And that way you'll spot added, requested, and re-requested.
Here actually getting close to the question is in our processor, their workflow, if the status is fulfilled in processor's mind, like they have done their part, but then
Right.
our in-house condition setting, like fulfilled is actually means the condition is still open. So if we use the filter disposition open, it will show any
Yes,
added and fulfilled condition
exactly.
as well. But the
Exactly.
processor doesn't want to see the fulfilled condition.
Well, okay, that's fine. Let me ask you a different question then. Why isn't the underwriter picking up all the fulfilled conditions as soon as they're fulfilled and clear them?
I think it's because they only review the file when there's like sudden milestone.
Okay, so I would ask you to explore that problem. So the most efficient workflows, truthfully, when it comes to underwriting resubs, is to actually review all fulfilled conditions as soon as they're fulfilled. Not everybody's a fan of this workflow, but I can tell you both high velocity retail and high velocity non-retail shops, underwriters are constantly looking at fulfilled conditions because according to whether it's the technology or a human, somebody has decided that condition has what it needs to have an underwriter review it. Now, in this particular example, we started with the flood. Was it the flood cert, or am I confusing? Like, what's coming in again? What's the document? What's the file coming in?
For us, it's fraud.
Fraud. Okay, so can fraud be cleared by processing?
No.
No, right? It's got to be cleared by underwriting, right?
Mhm.
So this problem, if this is a unique problem to your processing ops staff, it may actually make more sense to actually talk about this from an underwriting perspective, to do two things when the fraud comes in. A, leave the condition as fulfilled. B, send a notification or a workflow task to your underwriter to go look at this one fraud condition to clear it from the file. Like, why not that? Just get it done, right?
Yeah, they want the processor to review it, but then the underwriter goes.
Well, no. You just said that the processor can't clear it. So what are they
They
reviewing?
cannot clear, but they have to review it.
No, they don't. Guys, I'm telling you right now, like this is the conversation that resulted in 60 pages of workflow review for one of our clients. 60 pages, 60, because they didn't trust the other person in the workflow. It was obvious. Everybody re-verified the same information that somebody else already verified. It's insanity. And so, Lynn, I'm not saying you're insane or your workflow is bad, but I'm just saying that if a document cannot be cleared by somebody, why are you having them review it? It makes no sense. 0 cents. And it costs real money. And it's causing this real workflow problem. So, food for thought. You either get your processors to do what you want them to do, or you change your workflow to be more efficient. Quite honestly, if I've got something that only an underwriter can actually clear, and the document has everything it needs, there is no other person other than the underwriter to actually look at this. That's my takeaway here. Okay. You don't have to agree, but that is my answer.
Okay.
You got two ways through that problem. I think either one could work, but you can't keep telling me no on both. You got to make a decision for which one you're going to use. And I don't mean you. I mean your business, of course. So feel free to ask more questions if anybody's watching this replay and they want more information on how to make this work, Lynn. I'll be glad to help out. I'm going to move on here just because other questions are getting asked. Lynn, thank you very much for that. So Taiba said we use combo logs for notes. But since the combo log is not reportable, we created a custom field. Of course you did. So that he said, she said, can see the updates. This is the best practice for quick. So actually Taiba, what I've always done is a notes page, and it's done by logging. So the problem with conversation log is it's being misused. And I'll show you what I mean in real life. So natively speaking, the conversation log was created to document external conversations with people. That's why it was created in 2004, keep in mind, by Ellie Mae at the time. And so when we look at the conversation log in 2026, what we see is the ability to do the same thing. When we create a new log, we communicated by some method with some person in the file, right? Whether it's internal or external. And let's just pretend I talked to this person, and here's what happened. And then you have the ability to do alerts, follow-ups if you want. That's what it's for. And what ends up happening is people use this as a communication log of here's what's going on with the file, right? So tell me if I'm on the right track, David, right? This is what you guys are doing. It's complete misuse. And so what you did was exactly what you said. You created a single field to try to put everything together in one place, and then it becomes reportable. But the problem is you run into the same situation of complicated threads of conversation overlapping with each other in different parts of the file throughout the entire loan. I know this problem. So I'm imagining in your workflow, and other people have the same thing, but I'm imagining that you want your loan officer, again, working on paper, your loan officer to do notes to your processor to do notes for your underwriter to do notes for your closer to do notes for your post-closer, and a manager to see all these notes at the same time. Totally fine, understandable. It's not necessarily bad, but what I would suggest is use a logging method on a single input form, because that's portable when you get to web. In web, you could create and I know this says application view, right? But just ignore the words. Pretend this page, each of these cards were loan officer notes, processor notes, underwriter notes, whatever. And within each of these cards there's two basic fields. One field is a place for them to type. They click a button, and the other one is a log. That's an ongoing thread of all the notes from one to the other. Theoretically, because that's a log, you could put it on a pipeline view, which is what I've done. And everybody can kind of see these notes, especially if they hover over in desktop, and you can see them. So it's not like it's definitely something I still do today. When I have a workflow that has segmented conversations, it is not ideal to consolidate those into one log because things will always get screwed up. Number one. Number two, it's important to make sure that persona access to field rules are real, and only the persona for the loan officer can do the loan officer, processor can do the processor. You guys get the idea. And so Sarah says, that does seem better than using milestone comments. Please stop using milestone comments. It's not what they're for. Milestone comments, and again, I'll go into web. So because it's just quicker. Milestone comments, when you get into here, these comments are meant to document what's going on with the milestone itself. This is not a communications log. This is, I'm working on this milestone worksheet, and I found this stuff that's important to make sure I don't forget in the future. If I click show all on web, you can do this, which is kind of cool, but you can't print. So then you try to copy and paste. I know what you're going to do. But on web, you can do this. So if this like kind of lights you up, cool. But that's there. What I haven't actually looked at is anybody who uses I'd love your feedback. So go into an existing loan in desktop if you use milestone comments, Sarah, and click show all and see if they show up. Maybe that helps you in some way. And so, Taiba, you said create an input form and then the log history. So do you know how to create a log format? So you've got an input field, you've got a button that says create log, and then you've got a log field. No? Go to Mastering Encompass. I'm pretty sure that I have a post of how to do that. You need 3 fields and some macro code in the button click. Pretty sure I posted that out there. Look in the, if you can't find it, just hit me up. I'll do a post on it. It's something I did literally 12 years ago. So it's not like secret, it's not like secret sauce. Be glad to help you out. And yeah. But this is pretty cool. Like if you're using milestone comments, but again, the problem is if you can edit the milestone, that means you can edit the milestone comments and anybody can put anything they want in there out of context. So be careful with that. Act accordingly. I got like 3 minutes left. Did I miss? Kristen says, could the logging method be done using desktop? No. It's you can do it web. And you can do it desktop too. It's different code, right? The button click is JavaScript and web, and it's Visual Basic.net, VB.net in desktop. But it goes either way, Kristen. I actually don't know the JavaScript code. My team probably does, but I don't know it yet. I haven't learned it. But I always do VB code. It's not a big deal. Basically, just when you click the button, it takes what's in the log, puts it into a temp field. It takes the new notes, it appends to the temp field on top, and then applies it back with a date and time stamp and a user login stamp. So easy stuff. Cool. Any other questions? Did I miss anything? I feel like I missed something. I'm looking at the chat over here. Sorry, you're staring at the side of my head. Kelly says we use conversation. I think I got all the questions. All right, so I'm going to show you a workflow coach before I run out of time. I'm just super happy about it. Like I've never built anything like this in my life. So I'm going to show you how this works. When you land in, this is a demo project. Here's my point. When you go through, like this is what you should be seeing at your company level. Notice that this is not an SOP. This is not a how to breathe document. These are step-by-steps. And so if you're an Encompass admin, you can go through and call out specific items at each of these workflow steps for what has to happen, like notes or used Excel. It's obvious there's something to be done about this. And so you can, if you can see it. It's also important, like for users, if you can go through this, like anybody can follow these steps. I don't care what your experience level is. Again, it's not a how to breathe document, but it is a step-by-step to go through. And then on here, you can list out your pain points. You can create action items for what has to be done. You can define them into what workflow step that action item belongs to. And then at the bottom, I also created a spot for meeting notes if you need that, or shared documents if you need that, and then version control. Could you link a how-to for that step? I haven't created that as a thing, but I love the idea, Luba. Would you mind adding that to the feedback that you want to add a type as a how-to? That's a great idea. So if you do all this, the second part is turning it into a change. And so I created this to basically document the projects, right? So if you're looking at projects, these are the things you're doing. And then these are the work streams that are involved in that big project. The big project could be going to enhanced conditions, or it could be, getting ready for web, or it could be unwinding unnecessary external technology. It could be automating ITP. I mean, whatever. You can do whatever. My point for bringing this up is if we don't actually document what we're doing, nobody else is going to be able to see it or understand it. So I just want to give you a quick peek as far as what this looks like. And then over here in action items, this is brand new. We rolled out where we've got all action items within your environment here, or stuff that's assigned to you, or due or overdue, et cetera. And then everything kind of links back. So if this is interesting to you and you'd like to get into the private demo, send me a quick note. I'll set you up. But this is what we use internally to document all these workflows, going back to what we talked about earlier with Christy Unger and our workflowology team. This is what they do. You can do this too. You can do this too. So I just want to make sure you have the tools to become better. Final questions? It puts me right about where I wanted to be, which is about 5 minutes before, so I don't run you to the very end, just in case you got someplace else to go. Any other questions, follow-ups? I look forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks. We will not be doing, I don't know if we'll be doing the full hour next in 2 Tuesdays from now, because that'll be at the ice show. Maybe we'll do something special from the floor. I don't know. I think I said the same thing last year, and it wasn't the best. So I don't know if we'll do it again. Oh, a live AMA. I see. That's what I'm thinking about, Luba. You could join me on the live part, maybe at the booth. It's always that. You guys want to see Luba do AMA, make her answer questions live? I would like to see that. Put her certification to the test. All right, gang. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of the community. I really enjoy doing these. So thanks for the opportunity. We'll catch you next one. See you for now.